The night was quiet but not peaceful. The sky above the city carried a strange weight, as if the stars were watching, as if something was waiting. The air itself felt heavy, and even the silence seemed alive. In a small house on the edge of the city sat a young man. His name was not important, not yet. What mattered was the fire in his eyes, the restless thoughts that kept him awake. He had told his sisters many times about the voice, the strange presence that spoke to him in the dark, the guiding whisper that promised a night when everything would change. But his sisters never believed him. They laughed, they teased, they told him he was dreaming. They said he was lonely and making stories to fill the silence. They said no one would come. No one would ever help humanity. No one cared about people anymore. Not even the stars, brother, one sister said, leaning against the doorframe. You need to stop this. The world is already broken. Don't waste your hope on voices that don't exist. Her words were sharp, but her eyes were tired. She had seen the world collapse bit by bit. She had seen trust fade. She did not want to believe because believing was dangerous. It led only to pain. The other sister laughed louder. He sits here like a prophet waiting for angels or aliens. But all he has is silence, she said, shaking her head. There is no miracle coming, only tomorrow. And tomorrow will be just as empty as today. The young man did not answer. Not at first. He only looked at the sky through the cracked window, his eyes fixed on the far horizon, his fingers tapping lightly on the table as if counting the beats of something unseen. Finally he spoke, his voice calm but heavy. You will see, tonight you will see. I am not waiting for angels. I am waiting for proof. And proof is coming. His sisters rolled their eyes. They were tired of the same story, the same hope, the same warning. But deep inside, a small part of them was uneasy. The way he spoke, the way his voice shook slightly. It was not madness, it was conviction. The clock ticked on the wall, slow and cold, each sound echoing in the room. Time itself felt stretched, like a string about to break. The night moved forward, but the weight in the air grew heavier. Far away beyond the city lights, strange shadows flickered across the hills, shapes that did not belong to trees or rocks. Something metallic glinted faintly, but the sisters did not notice. Only he noticed, only he felt it, he whispered to himself. Almost too soft to hear. You are close. I can feel you. The sisters laughed again, trying to break the strange tension. Who are you talking to, brother, your imaginary friend? The ghost in the wires? One asked, but her laughter was hollow. Even she felt the cold touch of something in the night. The young man stood. He walked slowly to the window, his breath fogging the glass. Outside, the street was empty. The lamps buzzed weakly. One of them flickered and went dark. The shadows deepened. The world is tired, he said, not turning to face them. People are tired, and when people lose hope, they stop fighting. But something out there still believes in us, and tonight, you will see it too. His sisters exchanged uneasy looks. They wanted to argue. They wanted to call him foolish again. But before they could speak, the ground gave a small tremor, a soft vibration that shook the cups on the shelf. A low hum rolled through the house like a distant engine. What was that? One sister asked quickly, her voice sharp, her laughter gone. The young man smiled, but it was not a smile of joy. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this very moment. That, he said, is the beginning. The sisters stared, their eyes wide. The tremor faded, but the silence that followed was worse, heavier, thicker. The air buzzed faintly, like static before a storm. He turned finally, facing them both. His shadow stretched across the room by the dim light of the lamp. His eyes seemed brighter, burning with something they could not understand. You said no one believes in me, but tonight you will see. Tonight you will know the truth. Humanity is not alone, and we are stronger than you think. For a long moment, none of them spoke. The sisters felt something cold crawl down their spines, something in his words, something in the tremor, something in the air told them he was not lying, told them that maybe, just maybe, tonight would not be like other nights. Outside, a dog barked wildly, then went silent. The city seemed to hold its breath. The stars above flickered as if winking out for a heartbeat. Then glowing again, the sisters tried to steady their breathing. They wanted to deny it, to laugh again, but fear was growing, and with it, a question they had never dared ask. What if he was right? And in the silence of that question, the night waited, and the test of humanity was about to begin. The tremor faded, but the silence it left behind was heavier than stone. The house felt like it was holding its breath. Even the shadows seemed to lean in closer, waiting. The young man stood still, his hands at his sides, his eyes locked on the window. He could feel it deep in his bones. The world was shifting. The air carried a strange vibration, not sound, not light, but something in between. A rhythm that beat against the heart, then it came, a flicker, a pulse of light across the city skyline, faint at first like a ripple in water, but then brighter, spreading from tower to tower, every screen, every lamp, every device flashing at once, the entire city blinking as if it had one single heartbeat. The sisters gasped, their mocking laughter gone, their faces pale. What is happening? One whispered, clutching the wall for balance. The young man did not answer, he knew, but words were too heavy. Instead, he whispered almost to himself. The signal. The street outside was no longer empty. Every lamppost flickered. Cars parked in silence flashed their headlights in perfect rhythm. Even the smallest devices inside the house glowed. The radio, the broken tablet on the shelf, the old clock on the wall, all alive with the same pulse. It was not random, it was language, a message written in light. The sisters stared as the clock hands began to spin backward, its gears grinding in protest. The tablet screen cracked but glowing, showing strange symbols, twisting lines of white and blue that looked almost like letters but not of any alphabet they knew. One sister covered her ears though no sound played, her eyes wide. I feel it. I feel it inside my head, she cried, trembling. Yes, the young man said softly, his voice almost calm. Because it is not only light, it is inside the frequency of thought. It is speaking to the human mind. The symbols on the tablet shifted, becoming clearer, words forming in a language they could suddenly understand. We are here, it read, we are watching. The sisters stepped back, their fear growing. No, this is wrong, this is dangerous, this cannot be real, one of them whispered, her voice shaking. But outside, the city agreed with him. The signals grew louder, stronger. Every billboard flickered to the same message. Every phone lit up at once, voices rising in confusion from distant streets, people shouting, cars honking, alarms going off. The world was no longer normal, and then, in the middle of all this chaos, a voice spoke. Not through speakers, not through wires, but inside their minds, deep and clear. Powerful yet calm, children of Earth, your time has come. The sisters froze, eyes wide, hearts pounding. They looked to their brother, but he only closed his eyes, tears welling, not of fear, but of confirmation. You hear it now, he said, his voice trembling. You cannot deny it anymore, the voice continued. Slow and deliberate, you have doubted yourselves. You have forgotten your strength, but tonight you will be tested. Tonight you will prove if humanity still has the fire to survive. The air in the house buzzed, a pressure building in their ears, the ground trembling again as if the earth itself listened. One sister shouted, Stop it, stop this voice. It's hurting us. She pressed her hands to her head, but the words still flowed inside her, impossible to escape. The young man stepped forward, his face lit by the glowing tablet. Do not fear, it is not here to destroy us. It is here to remind us, but even as he spoke, the shadows outside shifted again, this time closer. Machines, tall and thin, like towers on legs, walked silently down the street, their eyes glowing red, their metal skin reflecting the pulsing light of the city. The sisters screamed, pulling back from the window. What are those? What is happening? The young man's jaw tightened. He knew this was part of the test, part of the signal. They are the proof, he said, his voice low but steady. They will measure us, they will push us, and they will see if we are still worth saving. The voice inside their minds spoke again. Survive the night. Show us your unity. Show us your courage, and the path will open. The sisters looked at him with terror. One of them whispered, This is your voice? This is what you waited for? It has brought monsters to our door. But he shook his head. No, these are not monsters. These are mirrors. They will show us who we are, and we must show them what humanity can be. The machines outside stopped in perfect unison, their heads turning, scanning the street, red beams sweeping across doors and windows, searching, calculating, and then, for one brief second, everything stopped. The lights, the hum, even the tremors. Silence deep and endless, the city frozen in a single heartbeat. Then the voice whispered again, softer this time, but sharp as a blade. Humanity begins now. The lamps flickered back. The machines moved forward, their steps heavy and slow, each one shaking the ground. The sisters clung to each other, their doubt now mixed with fear and awe. Their brother stood tall, facing the window, his hands clenched into fists. This, he whispered, is the night I promised, and this is the night you will believe. The machines stood outside, tall and cold, their red eyes scanning, their heavy bodies blocking the street like silent giants. Their presence was enough to crush hope, enough to make the world feel smaller. Inside the house, the sisters trembled, their fear no longer hidden. Their laughter from earlier was gone, replaced by the pounding of their hearts. They clung to each other as if the walls themselves could no longer protect them. The young man did not move. He watched the machines with calm eyes, as if he had seen this moment in his dreams many times before. He whispered softly, "The test has begun," and then the voice returned, deep inside their minds, sharper than before, like thunder without sound. "Children of Earth, tonight you will prove yourselves, not with words, not with dreams, but with action," the sisters cried out, covering their ears, though it did no good. The words lived in their heads. "Impossible to block, you face the Watchers," the voice said. "They will hunt you, they will measure you, and they will know if your spirit is strong. Only if you endure until dawn will you stand worthy. Fail and your light will fade from the stars." The sisters shook their heads. "This is madness, we cannot fight machines. We cannot win this," one shouted, her voice breaking. But the young man turned, his face lit with strange determination. "It is not about winning with strength, it is about showing who we are. That is the challenge." The machines outside began to move. Slow and exact, their red beams cutting across windows, burning faint trails on walls, scanning for movement. Every step they took made the ground tremble, dust falling from the ceiling. One of the sisters grabbed her brother's arm. "We must hide, we must run," she pleaded. Her eyes wide with terror, he shook his head. "If we hide, if we run, we show only fear, we must face them. Together," she pushed him, angry now. "Together? We are not soldiers, we are not heroes, we are just people in a broken world." He looked at her, his voice low but steady. "That is exactly why we must face them. Because humanity is not about weapons, it is about heart. And heart is enough." Before they could argue again, the machine stopped all at once, their heads turning as if listening, and then, with perfect timing, every light in the city shut down, the entire world falling into blackness. The sisters gasped, pressing close. The silence after the blackout was deeper than night, but in that silence came the voice once more. "You will be tested in darkness, for only in darkness can true light be seen." The young man closed his eyes, breathing slow. "They want us to remember what it means to be human," he whispered. A sudden crash broke the silence. One of the machines smashed its long arm through a nearby house, pulling people into the street, their screams rising in the night, families stumbling out, faces pale with terror, children crying, neighbors shouting. The sisters ran to the window, watching in horror. "They are destroying us," one whispered, her hands trembling. "No," the young man said firmly. "They are forcing us to choose. Will we stand together or will we break apart?" He opened the door and stepped into the night. The sisters cried after him, "Come back. You will be killed," but he kept walking, his shadow swallowed by the flickering red glow of the machines. Outside, people huddled together, lost and afraid, their voices rising in chaos. "We must hide. Run to the hills. There is no hope," they shouted. The young man raised his hands, his voice loud, cutting through the panic. "Listen to me. They are not here to destroy us. They are here to test us if we scatter. If we turn on each other, we will fail. But if we stand as one, if we protect each other, if we fight not for survival alone but for each other, we will endure." The crowd looked at him, some with disbelief, some with hope. No one moved, no one spoke. The machines stepped closer, their red eyes glowing brighter, the air thick with static. One child began to cry loudly, his mother clutching him. The young man walked forward, standing between them and the machine, his heart racing but his voice steady. "If you want to measure humanity, measure us through this. We protect our own." The machine froze, scanning him, its red beam stopping on his face, and for a moment the world held still. Then the voice returned, softer this time, courage noted. "But courage alone is not enough. Unity must be seen, sacrifice must be given." The sisters ran outside now, unable to watch from the window. They rushed to their brother's side, fear still in their hearts but something else growing too. One of them grabbed his hand, whispering, "If you fall, we fall with you," the other nodded, her voice shaking but true. "We will stand too." No matter what comes, the young man's heart swelled, not with pride but with relief, for this was the moment he had prayed for. His sisters were beginning to see. The crowd slowly moved closer, not scattering this time but gathering, People holding each other, standing shoulder to shoulder, trembling but refusing to step back. The machines paused, their heads turning, the red beam scanning the crowd. The test was shifting. The challenge was no longer for one, it was for all. And then the voice whispered again, "So begins the true night of trial. Let us see if humanity still remembers its fire." The machines roared to life, their arms unfolding, their bodies glowing with strange light. The trial had begun, and the night was far from over. The night had grown heavier. The machines stood like iron statues, their glowing red eyes scanning, their arms unfolding with quiet menace. The air buzzed with static. Every breath was thick with fear. The people in the street clung together, trembling but refusing to scatter, their voices low, their hearts loud. They had no weapons, no armor, only themselves. And the question that burned inside each one: could humanity truly stand against such power? The sisters gripped their brother's hands, their bodies shaking, but for the first time, their fear did not drive them backward. It drove them closer to him, closer to the others, closer to something they had forgotten. The young man raised his voice, steady and clear. "We are not machines. We do not think in wires and numbers, we think in dreams, in love, in hope. That is what they cannot measure unless we show them. Tonight we show them." The machines moved again, slow but unstoppable, their steps making the ground shiver. One of them raised its long arm, a beam of light cutting through the air. Burning into the pavement, the crowd screamed, people ducked. But the young man did not run. He picked up a simple stone from the ground, small and rough, nothing compared to the massive body of metal before him, and he threw it, not with strength but with defiance. The stone clattered uselessly against the machine's leg, but the sound echoed like thunder in the silence. The sisters gasped. "That will not stop them," one cried, but he shook his head. "No, but it reminds them we do not bow." The people around him began to act, not with weapons but with what they had. A woman shouted and banged 2 metal pots together, the noise ringing across the street. Children grabbed sticks and waved them high. Men lifted chairs, broken pipes, anything they could find. It looked foolish, weak, hopeless, but it was not about strength. It was about spirit. And the spirit was rising. The machines paused, their red beams sweeping over the crowd, scanning, measuring. Watching, the voice returned, steady and deep. "You face metal with noise and wood. You face fire with nothing but heart. Why?" The young man answered aloud. His words meant for both the machines and the people, "Because we are more than what we hold. We are what we believe, we are what we protect. We are human." The crowd roared with him, a single sound, raw and united. And for the first time the sisters shouted too, their voices rising into the night. The machines tilted their heads. Almost curious, the test was shifting again. But the trial was not over. One machine fired a blast of energy. Striking a wall, the explosion sent people running. Rubble fell, dust filled the air, screams echoed in the chaos. A child was trapped under broken stone, his cries cutting through the night. His mother clawed at the rubble with her bare hands, tears streaming. The sisters saw it, their eyes wide. Without thinking, they rushed forward, pulling at the heavy stones, their soft hands bleeding, their breath ragged. "Help us," they cried, and others joined. Men and women pushing, lifting, until the child was freed. His mother collapsing with relief. Holding him tight, the voice spoke again. Softer, almost thoughtful. "Unity noted, sacrifice seen, humanity moves together." The young man's heart raced. He saw it too. This was the real weapon, not guns, not fire, but the unbreakable bond between strangers. He turned to the crowd, shouting, "Do you see? Every time we choose each other, every time we protect life, we win. This is our power, not destruction, but unity." The people lifted their heads, hope burning in their eyes. They stood taller, no longer just victims, but something more. One man began to sing, his voice cracked but strong. A song of the old world, of hope in hard times. Others joined, the melody spreading, rising above the machine's hum, filling the dark with sound that was not fear but courage. The sisters sang too, their voices trembling at first, then steady, their faces glowing in the dim light. They looked at their brother and finally believed. The machine stopped again, their red beams dimming, their heads tilting as if listening. The song echoed through the night like a shield made of memory. The voice returned, slow and deep. "You sing in the face of fire, you bleed and still you lift. You protect what is not yours. This is power, not of metal but of spirit." The young man clenched his fists, tears in his eyes. "Yes," he shouted. "This is humanity. This is what you wanted to see. And we are only beginning." The machines shifted back, their heavy steps retreating slightly. The challenge was not finished, but something had changed. The test was no longer about fear. It was about proving the light within the human heart. The people stood together, their voices loud, their courage rising. The sisters gripping their brothers' arms. No longer doubters, but believers, and in that moment, in the broken street filled with dust and song, humanity's true power was seen not in weapons, not in war, but in unity, love, and the refusal to give up. The night was far from over. The machines were not yet done, but the fire of humanity had been lit, and nothing could put it out. The street was filled with dust and voices. The machines had stepped back for a moment. Their red eyes dimmed as if thinking, as if measuring. The people stood together, their fear less than before, their hearts beating with the song of courage. But the night was not finished. The test was far from over. A sudden roar split the silence, deeper than thunder, heavier than the earth. Another machine stepped forward, larger than the rest, its frame glowing with fire, its red eyes brighter than blood, its arms ending in blades of light. The crowd gasped, their voices falling quiet. Even the song broke, silence crashing back over them. The sisters clung to their brother, their new hope trembling like a candle in the wind. The voice returned, cold and sharp. Courage is seen, unity is rising, but strength is tested in pain. Sacrifice must be given. The young man frowned, his jaw tight. What do you mean? He whispered. Though no answer came, only the heavy steps of the massive machine moving closer. Without warning, the machine struck, its blade slicing through a wall. The stone shattering, pieces flying like knives. The crowd screamed and scattered, though many stayed together, covering each other, pulling children close. The young man tried to shield his sisters, but the blast threw them back, dust filling the air, his ears ringing, his chest aching. When the smoke cleared, his heart froze. One of his sisters lay on the ground, blood on her arm, her face pale. She groaned in pain, trying to move but failing. No, he shouted, falling to his knees, lifting her head. Stay with me. Don't close your eyes. The other sister knelt beside him, her tears hot, her voice breaking. We cannot win, they are too strong. They will kill us all. For the first time that night, doubt touched him too. His hands shook, his chest burned. He looked at the towering machine and felt the smallness of humanity. But then he saw it. Strangers rushing to help, men lifting rubble to clear a path, women tearing cloth from their clothes to wrap his sister's wound, people who did not know her choosing to protect her as if she were family. His voice cracked but grew steady. Look at them. We are not alone. Even in pain we rise, even in fear we choose each other. This is strength. The injured sister opened her eyes weakly, whispering, Why do they help me? He held her hand tight. Because that is who we are. We fight for each other always. The machines watched, their red beams sweeping over the scene, recording every detail, their heads tilting as if confused, as if searching for something they could not calculate. The voice spoke again, slower, heavier. Pain is endured, sacrifice is shared. The fire grows brighter, but the trial is not yet complete. The young man rose, his body trembling but his voice strong. He turned to the crowd, shouting, Do you see now? They want to break us with pain. But pain only makes us stronger. Because we carry it together. We do not fall alone. We rise together. The people lifted their heads, their voices answering, Together. The word spreading like a spark, shouted from one to another, echoing in the broken street. The massive machine stepped forward again, its blades humming, its eyes glowing hotter, the ground shaking with each step. But this time the crowd did not scatter. They tightened their circle, shielding the weak, lifting the injured, their unity burning brighter than fear. The young man stood at the front, his sisters behind him, one wounded, one holding her close. He lifted his arms high, shouting, We do not bow, we do not break, we are human, and we are one. The crowd roared with him, their voices louder than the machine's hum. The massive machine raised its blade again, ready to strike, but then it paused, the sound of unity filling the air, the sound of people refusing to surrender. The voice returned, quieter now, almost thoughtful. Unity noted, pain endured, sacrifice seen, you move closer to truth. The sisters looked at their brother, their fear still there, but something greater now. Something new, belief. The uninjured sister whispered, I see it. I see what you meant all along. It is not about fighting like machines. It is about standing as people, and we are strong. He nodded, his eyes wet, his chest heavy with both pain and pride. Yes, now you believe. and soon the whole world will. The night was not finished. The machines still moved, their test still heavy, but the turning point had come. Humanity had shown its fire even in pain, and once the fire was lit, nothing could put it out. The young man looked at the sky, the stars burning faintly above the smoke, and he whispered, "We will not fail, we will show you all." The city was broken, walls shattered, streets cracked, the night filled with smoke and dust. The people stood together still, their voices echoing in the dark. But everyone knew the trial was not finished. The machines moved aside, their glowing red eyes dimming, and then the ground began to shake. Not a small tremor this time, but a deep rumble, heavy and endless, as if the earth itself feared what was coming. Out of the shadows it appeared, and a giant unlike the others. Taller than the buildings, its body forged of black steel and burning light, its chest glowing like a furnace. Its eyes two suns of red fire. The crowd gasped. Many dropped to their knees, their hope trembling, their courage shaking. The sisters clutched each other. Even the strongest voices fell silent. The voice filled their minds again, deeper than before. "You have shown unity. You have shown sacrifice, but now we measure your final strength. Your spirit against despair, survive this, and humanity will rise again. Fail, and your fire will die." The massive war drone raised its head, the sound of its gears grinding like thunder, its arms unfolding into cannons, its shadow swallowing the street. The young man's heart pounded. His injured sister leaned on the other, her face pale but her eyes alive. "Brother," she whispered, "we cannot face this. No stone, no song, no hand can stop a giant." He looked at her, his jaw tight, his eyes burning. "We will not face it alone. We will face it together." The people murmured in fear, some stepping back, their courage breaking at the sight of the towering machine. "It's impossible," a man shouted. "We cannot fight this." The young man lifted his voice, strong and fierce. "Listen to me, do not give up. This is what they want. They want us to fall into despair. But our power is not in weapons. It is in standing as one. If we break now, we lose everything. If we stand, we win everything." The war drone stepped forward, each step shaking windows, dust raining from rooftops, the cannons glowing with deadly light. The crowd wavered, torn between fear and belief. The sisters looked at their brother, their tears bright in the firelight. One whispered, "We believe now, we will stand, even if it is the last thing we do." The young man smiled, not with joy but with pride. "That is enough. That is all we need." He stepped forward into the open street, facing the giant machine, his shadow tiny against its massive frame. He shouted into the night, his voice carrying to every corner, "If you wish to measure humanity, measure me. I am nothing. But I am everything. I am human, and I will not bow." The crowd gasped. Some cried out for him to stop, but his words lit a fire. One by one, people stepped forward too, standing beside him, trembling but refusing to hide. The sisters joined, one holding the other, both standing tall, their eyes fixed on the giant. Soon the whole crowd was in the street. Men, women, children, injured and strong, shoulder to shoulder, their voices rising. "We are human, we are one, we will not bow." The war drone paused, its cannons glowing brighter, the air thick with energy, the ground trembling. The voice spoke again, slow and sharp. "You face certain death, yet you stand. Why?" The young man answered, his chest heaving, his voice breaking but steady. "Because we are not alive only for ourselves. We are alive for each other, for love, for hope, for tomorrow. You can measure us only by that." The war drone's cannons fired, a beam of light tearing through the street. The people screamed but did not scatter. They stood together, shielding each other with their bodies, dust and fire blasting around them. When the smoke cleared, they were still standing, bruised, burned, trembling but alive. The voice whispered softer now, "Even in the face of death, you choose unity. Even in despair, you choose hope. This is power beyond calculation." The war drone tilted its head, its glowing eyes flickering, its cannons lowering. The giant machine stepped back, its roar fading into silence. The crowd gasped, some wept, some laughed. Relief breaking through fear, the sisters held each other, one whispering, "We did it, we stood, we believed." The young man fell to his knees, exhausted, his face wet with tears. He looked up at the sky, whispering, "You see us now? You cannot deny us anymore." And for the first time, the voice did not sound distant. It sounded almost human. "Yes, we see you. Humanity. And tonight the universe will see you too." The giant machine froze in place, its red eyes dimming, its frame silent. The test was ending, but the night was not yet finished. The final truth was still waiting. The giant machine stood frozen in the street, its burning eyes fading to embers, its cannons silent. The ground no longer shook with its steps. The air no longer buzzed with its deadly power. The people stared, their breaths heavy, their bodies trembling from exhaustion and fear. Yet in their eyes burned something the machines could not calculate: fire. The sisters held each other close, one still bleeding, the other supporting her, their tears wet on their faces, but their eyes steady, no longer filled with doubt, no longer mocking their brother's faith. The young man rose slowly, his knees weak, his chest heavy, but his spirit unbroken. He looked at the silent giant, then at the stars above, his voice low but steady. "The test is finished? Now tell us, what is our fate?" The voice filled the night, not sharp, not cold, but deep and almost gentle. Humanity has been measured, unity has been seen, sacrifice has been given, courage has been proven. You are worthy. The crowd gasped, some cried, some laughed, their voices mixing in joy and disbelief. The machines stepped back, their red eyes fading completely, their massive frames lowering into silence as if bowing to the people they had tested. The voice continued, "You doubted yourselves. You believed you were broken, weak, forgotten. But tonight you have shown the truth. Humanity is not alone. Humanity is a flame that survives every storm." The young man clenched his fists, his eyes wet. "You made us suffer, you brought fear, why?" The voice answered, "Because strength without trial is an empty word. Courage without pain is only noise. Unity without sacrifice is only a dream. Tonight you proved those words real, and now the universe will know." The sky above shimmered, the stars brightened, and then a great light spread across the heavens as if a curtain had been lifted. Thousands of ships appeared, vast and silent, their silver bodies reflecting the starlight, their lights glowing like cities in the sky. The sisters gasped, their mouths open. The people cried out in awe, some fell to their knees. Others raised their arms high. The voice spoke again, now from everywhere, from the sky itself. "We are the Watchers, we have searched many worlds. We have seen countless races, some strong, some fallen. Tonight you join the few who have proven their fire still burns." The crowd was silent, listening, their hearts pounding with wonder. You were doubted, even by your own, but you stood, you bled, you sang, you protected, you endured, and now the galaxy will know your name. Humanity is not finished, humanity rises tonight. The young man looked at his sisters, their faces glowing in the strange light from the sky, and for the first time they did not laugh at him. They did not call him foolish, instead they whispered together, "You were right, brother, we see it now. We believe." He smiled weakly, his heart heavy with relief. "It was never about me being right. It was about us remembering who we are." The ships above moved slowly, their lights forming patterns in the sky, messages written across the stars. Every person in the city, maybe even the world, could see them. Children pointed, old men wept, mothers held their babies close, strangers hugged each other, and in that moment, humanity was not broken, not divided but whole. The voice returned softer. "The universe will watch you now, you will not walk alone. But remember, the greatest power you hold is not in the sky, not in machines, not even in us. It is in your hearts. Never forget, never surrender it." The ships began to fade one by one, their lights vanishing into the stars, leaving behind only the memory of their brilliance. The machines on the ground powered down, collapsing like empty shells, their test complete. The city was broken, but it was alive, filled with voices, filled with hope. The sisters helped their brother stand, their strength weak but their spirit strong. One whispered, "You saved us," he shook his head, looking at the crowd. "No, we saved each other. That is humanity's power." The people gathered around him, their voices rising, chanting together, "We are human, we are one. We will not bow." The chant echoing through the night. Rising into the sky, the young man looked up, whispering to the stars, "You heard us. Now the universe will too." And somewhere beyond the stars, far from Earth, voices answered. Voices not of machines, but of living beings, watching, listening, learning the truth that had been hidden, that humanity was not weak, not forgotten, but powerful in its unity. The sisters looked at their brother with pride, one whispering, "We never believed in you, but now we believe in us," he smiled, his heart burning brighter than ever. "That is all I wanted, for you to see what I always knew. Humanity is worth believing in. The dawn began to rise slowly, golden light spilling across the broken streets, warming the faces of the tired but unbroken people. The test was finished, the revelation complete. The world would never be the same. And as the sun climbed higher, one truth remained stronger than fear, stronger than pain. Humanity's power had been shown, and the universe would never forget.